This will be our last session today. And once more, I'm going to ask you to do one hard work. Just one hard work. That is the beginning of this session. This session will start with 10 minutes silent meditation. And during that 10 minutes, what I want to ask you to first briefly look at the Heartsutra, that section that we are reading. In English, they're saying, Shariputra, therefore there's, in emptiness, there's no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no composition, no factor, no consciousness. Just look at that section and what I've said so far, last 3 days, mainly last 2 sessions. We started the morning, the first session is more in general, but the last 2 sessions, relation to the 5 aggregates. What are the important points, in your view, I have raised to understand this subject, emptiness? What are the, just bring 2, or if it is possible, 3, the point what I've raised so far, last 2-3 sessions, the connection to this 1.5 lines, relation to the 5 aggregates, to understand emptiness. What are the 3 main important points you think may be helpful to rethink again when you go back home? Do you understand? So just in 10 minutes, try to go back to that memory, and drag from the memory what you have heard so far. 3, if it is possible, 3, otherwise 2 important points. From your experience, from your understanding, that I have said so much, so many things, but from there you think, this is something I thought quite important to understand emptiness, and this is. So if it is possible, 3, if not 2, but at least 1. Otherwise I will be very, very sad. So we'll do this 10-minute silent meditation to refresh the memories and bring in your mind 3 important points to relation to this topic. Okay? Yeah, we'll start. slowly end meditation. So, what I need is a brave person want to say what he or she has found out, some important points. That's all I need. Somebody raise hand and just don't need to say all three. If you are able to say just one point, which you have found maybe useful to rethink, look at a little bit more detail, to understand emptiness. Yeah.
Just because I'm born in this Western tradition, and we here learn from start, from beginning, to build up I and name, and form and meaning and I during the life. And now with Buddhism I start to going inside that I in reverse.
Yeah.
It's just
I usually call deconstruct.
Yes, like that. Slowly and with understanding, no nihilism, no, but come free from that concept, from grasping of self-existence, yes. And also duality can be used on the path to understand. So.
Good. Good important point. Can anybody say any useful? I want to tell you, before you think about it, I want to tell you one short story. Story is this. It is Western story, and it is very famous story, and it has many people have a sentimentally involved. That is this English man called Sherlock Holmes. And there's a place where he was born, where he was raised, and where he was died. It is near Oxford Street. What do you call this? The Beggar Street up there. So you can visit his place, you can buy some of his memorable things, and so on and so forth. So I won't tell any further than that. That's I want you to just to keep in your mind where I'm going now. So I'll come back with that, but just I want to plant this story, short story, in your mind. Okay? Okay, now, if you have a question, not necessarily want to point and say the point. If you have a question, ask that question.
This teaching of the skandhas is a very fundamental Buddhist teaching, also in the Theravada tradition.
Yeah.
And its purpose is to minimize the imagination of a personal self, or to deconstruct this imagination.
Yeah.
Now, coming to the Heartsutra, is what is said here, is this something new, or is it a further explanation of this, that the skandhas are empty? The skandhas are empty.
Okay.
Not the self is empty, but the skandhas are empty. This is quite different from the first sentence.
Okay. You are on the spot now. You are under the spotlight now. So, the point is this. in the earlier Buddhist teachings, in other words, in the modern time, the Buddhist teachings in the language in Pali, these teachings don't say that much about the emptiness of what we call phenomena. In those Pali teachings, they talk emptiness of I, or the self. In other words, selflessness. So in the one, like an expansion from that teaching, the Buddha taught selflessness, the anattama. The self is empty. Self doesn't exist as it appeared to us, so on and so forth, which is very often taught in the Pali teachings or in Theravadan teachings. That notion, that theory can be expanded. So extension of that teaching is, in the Mahayana Buddhism, what they call is emptiness of phenomena. So in the Mahayana teachings, when they talk about selflessness, they talk about two types of selflessness. Selflessness of I, selflessness of phenomena. That is the difference now. Yeah.
Thinking about this, one can say it's interesting development and certain development of philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
But Buddha said of his teaching, my teaching has only one taste, is the taste of dukkha and the ending of dukkha.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we have, or why is it useful to develop this philosophy? It could be a play, play of the mind, rather.
Yes.
Does it make any has it any worth to free oneself from the dukkha in a better way than the Theravada?
Okay, now the fundamental question is this. To end the dukkha, Buddha himself said very clearly, how to end the dukkha is, says the causes of dukkha, origin of dukkha. And the origin of dukkha is identified, as early morning I said, two things: delusion and karma. And out of those two, delusion is the main or is the origin, delusion or affliction, whatever term you use. When Buddha taught his first teaching, dukkha, origin of dukkha, I'm talking about India. How to end the dukkha, as you said, how to end the dukkha is end the origin. Mm-hmm. So now the question is the origin. What is the origin? Now, some people can, or some, say for example, 3 different doctors have a different understanding in the disease. Mm-hmm. But all are looking at why this patient is not well. And also looking at in terms of the same illness. The most experienced, the most the knowledge of a doctor may identify something further than the earlier 2 doctors, less experienced, or newcomer doctors. So this is something which we need to look at. When to end the dukkha, how to end is end the origin of dukkha. And the origin of dukkha is delusion. Now, to identify the delusion. Now in the Mahayana literatures, like Nagarjuna and those great teachers, when they look at the origin of the dukkha, the delusion, the affliction, then, as I said earlier, we are not only confused ourselves, our I, how it is, also we are confused the things and events around us too.
Mm-hmm.
The affliction or the delusion is not only relation to the I, to the self, it is also relation to the body, to the feeling, to the possession, to the environment. So because of that, these like Nagarjuna and these Mahayana teachers, they said, let us look at, do we have this notion of this, the something concrete, substantial, not only in relation to the I, do we have also that sort of notion, notion of substantial, concrete, the existence, notion of that kind of existence to our body, to our feelings, to our possessions? Then they say, yes, we have. And because of that, this emptiness of phenomena. So it is like that. There's nothing in the Mahayana teachings, there's nothing, something completely unrelated with the basic Buddhist teaching, as you said, dukkha and dukkha. Now it is as I said, the junior doctor may not say, the experienced doctor who identified the origin may say, no, this is not the origin of dukkha, origin of that illness. Origin of illness is this, what I have identified. So there are differences.
Then one can say, at a certain time of history, the people found that it is more effective to develop these teachings. The Mahayana found that it would be a more effective formulation of this teaching.
Okay, now I want to answer two things in here. First, according to the Mahayana tradition, strongly believe, such as Panchaparamita Sutras, are taught by Buddha himself. Okay, that is the historical, what's called what the Mahayana Buddhist traditions believe. And the argument whether that's taught by Buddha or not exists more than 2,000 years ago. Nagarjuna's time there were lots of debate, and the 21st century there were lots of debate. I will not go there, that's the one thing. But another answer to your question is this. There's no doubt, not only Buddhism, not only the Mahayana Buddhist traditions, all the major religious traditions, when time passes, when tradition, they encounter new culture, new society, new environment, it adapts according to the time, according to the environment, according to the culture. That is the reality. Even look at the modern scientists. 20, 30 years ago, what the scientists have found as maybe the final answer as what is the subtlest atom. Nowadays, no.
I agree with your opinion, but then when I apply it to Buddhism, then it is always like one can imagine that Buddhism can develop further from up to now. Some new aspects we haven't seen before.
Okay,
This could be it could be a possibility, no?
No. No, in the sense of as long as origin of dukkha is concerned. As long as basic dukkha is concerned, there's no difference whatsoever from the Buddhist time and the 21st century. Of course, in the surface there are differences. At the Buddhist time, people are in the day-to-day life, people are struggling to put together the basic chariot, to pull the chariot pulled by ox and horses. Modern times we are struggling how to put Ferrari, BMW and so on and so forth. The difference. But the basic, as far as the origin of dukkha is concerned, hasn't changed. And I don't think it will change. Unfortunately. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I'm not sure if I can ask properly what I want to ask.
Okay.
So there are several aspects in it. You did a deconstruction of everything, even mind concepts, mind and so on. But on the other hand, you mentioned mind's functions, or something like functional mind. And how is this relationship body, mind, and does mind exist before? Does mind exist at all? Or I don't know how to deconstruct mind.
Now, how to deconstruct mind might be coming in here, our next topic, which I want to look at. Okay? That is something very important. Now we are going to move to the next bit, which I will look at all together in these three groups. No I, then next group is no visual form, and no consciousness. No consciousness. We are going to look at these three groups. Now, I consciousness. I consciousness to see beautiful things, ugly things. I consciousness see. Shapes and colors. Beautiful shapes and colors and ugly shapes and colors. But this I consciousness, to see the shapes and colors is very much dependent on these three factors. What we call the sense basis or the sense organ, consciousness itself, and the object. When these three come together, our consciousness sees its object. As simple as that. When one of them are missing, or one of them are default, have a faulted, it will not function. Now, before I answer to your question, first I want to tidy up this topic. What it quite often as I said this morning, these what you call the 18 together, called 18 dhatus or 18 elements. 18 elements also look at into, take it the cursor, come. Yeah. Geshe. Yeah. Within the 18 elements, we can also look at saying 12 sources. I'll repeat again. We have 18 elements, and within the 18 elements, sometimes the Buddhist term, another list is called 12 sources. Yeah? When it says 12 sources, leave it the 6 objects. Keep it the 6 sense bases and the 6 consciousnesses. When these 6 come together, it's called 12 sources. 12 sources. If these 12 sources, if we added the 6 objects, then it becomes 18 elements. Okay, it's very simple, not that difficult.
12 is 6 objects and...
No, it's not 6 objects, 6 sense bases.
Sense bases.
And the 6 consciousnesses.
This is wheel of life or no?
Sorry?
Is 12 limbs? No.
No. Don't think 12 limbs.
Sense bases.
6 sense bases: eye organ, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. And the 6 consciousness: eye consciousness, ear consciousness, so on and so forth. So these 2 groups are called 12 sources. If on top of that, if we added the 6 objects, then it's called 18 elements, 18 dhatus. I'm just saying this to you to simply not to get confused. In the later you may hear, there's another list called 12 sources. What are those? So just to simplify that in the future, so I'm saying by the way this. Now, this one also I want to tie it up with our sense of identity, because that's our main topic, and I'll come to your question. We have this sense of identity, I as an experiencer. I'll repeat that. I as an experiencer. Or the modern term, you can use I as a consumer. That's the modern term, but the traditional term is I as an experiencer, to experience. Or you can say I as a consumer. We see, we perceive, we believe I or the self in that fashion, in that manner, consumer manner. Like that. When I consciousness sees, the color and shape, and soon as the mental, the conceptual thought interprets red, white, yellow, nice, not nice, as soon as conceptual mind interprets, the I takes over. And they like the, as I said, experiencer, beautiful flower, ugly rubbish dump, and so on and so forth. But that is wrong. I is not consumer. I is not experiencer. I is not. Now, that's here relevant, the topic. The experiencer are those consciousnesses. I consciousness, experience, object, shape and color. And the conceptual interprets. good, bad, right, wrong, according to the culture, according to the background, according to the how you believe, but not the I. Not the I. I want you to think. I want you to think. So I want to edit one more, then leave it there, then answer to your question. Also, we have a wrong notion of I, or the self, as an agent. Agent? You know, the government agent to go to Afghanistan. We have that kind of notion of I as an agent, doer, you know, worker, agent. And that is also wrong. That is also wrong. There's no such as I in here as a doer, apart from our body does, our speech does, our mind does. There isn't. But we think, we feel, and we believe there is. Part of our body, what our body does, what our speech does, what our mind do. We believe there's something so-called I, as a doer. There isn't. And that is very, very important, this looking at these 18 dhatus, 18 sometimes called 18 elements, or sometimes it is translated saying 18 constituents. Constituents, also translated as a dhatu, from dhatu, constituents. What is element or dhatu in Sanskrit? Element or the constituents, what does that mean? That means these, the factors, six different groups, when they operate, they sort of, they are the sort of, the what you call the main doer. They are the experiencer. They are the, the agent, in other words. Not the I, not the self. Dhatu, in Tibetan called kam. Kam has a connotation in Tibetan. I don't know because I haven't learned Sanskrit at all. But in Tibetan, kam has that term has a connotation of overpower. Overpower. So in other words, these 16 elements, 16 things come together. Each I consciousness has three I consciousness objects and the I sense power. When these three come together, shapes, colors. Same as all this go through, and that is what is experiencing. The external things. Internal things. And that's what is happening when you say as a doing. What's happening is out of these 16 constituents. If we take it out these 16, there's nothing left as a doer, as an agent, as an experiencer or consumer. Nothing. That is important. So now going back to your question, when you talk about the deconstruct consciousness, there are two ways to look at it. First one, as we have done briefly, looking at how consciousness arises. How consciousness arises, I consciousness, so on and so forth. If you look at that way, then you will see, okay, that's how consciousness is, how they function. Another way is more in the conceptual level, not in the perception level, in the sense of perception, the sense consciousnesses. In the conceptual level, one of the most powerful how to deconstruct is to look at social influence, culture influence, family influence, and also philosophy influence, or the religious influence in your conceptual thinking. If you checked these things, then your conceptual thinking will become very sort of, not completely pure, but it will be quite pure. At present, many of our conceptual thinking of this is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong, this is I want, this is I don't want, he is right, he is wrong. Many of these conceptual thinking has all these elements, culture elements, social elements, education elements, religious elements, and upbringing elements. So if you chip at those things, then the conceptual thinking won't be completely pure, but it will be quite pure.
I still have a question.
Sorry?
I still have a question.
What is the question?
It's a stupid question, but it's...
Mm-hmm.
So I just was thinking, it's... if you have one cell, there is somehow some kind of consciousness in this cell, and this is...
Cell, genetic.
One thing
Okay.
is...
Mm-hmm.
There's obviously something that is called some kind of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So would a table, could have the same consciousness or not?
Okay. I cannot answer to that question. I mean, Buddhists have a answer to that question, but for me it is quite a limited answer. Buddhism believes non-conscious never going to become conscious.
Okay.
In other words, matter, like a table, matter never going to become consciousness. That's the Buddhist belief. But I don't know how much that can, stand up analysis. It has a lots of weak points in that answer.
Mm-hmm.
As His Holiness says quite often, I think it's very important. In terms of the searching, what is the origin, in terms of the matter things, it can be quite powerful, the modern science explanation. But what is helpful here is the psychological input in this. Then there might be lots of the detailed, sophisticated contribution can be made from the Buddhist teachings. And that I was talking about earlier, didn't I? I said there are two things. How come into being and what it is. How come into being? I mean, although I'm very, the lack of all this understanding, color chakra and so on and so forth, I don't know that. But my notion, it's a little bit limited from the Buddhist explanation in certain outcome of the being. But what it is, then I think this Buddhist concept of emptiness might be one of the most powerful concepts. To say what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I thought today we'll have a very simple class, but it become too complicated class. But here again, I want you to think this paragraph or this paragraph which we are looking at today. So this 18 dadus, up to there, for me, from this paragraph, which starting saying no form, no feeling, to coming up to saying no mental consciousness element, up to there is really very much to deal with two things. The first thing is, overall, all this, the first point is to understand, and to understand self or the I is not in a form of unitary, not in a form of experiencer, not in a form of agent. Do you understand? I'll repeat again. Looking at the 5 aggregates, bit by bit, help us. Self is not as some kind of unitary entity or the nature. Looking at the 18 dadus, 18 elements, help us. Self is not experiencer. Experiencer are these consciousnesses. Also help us to understand self is not an agent, a doer. The doer are these 18 dadus. That's the first point. Now the second point, then looking at these individual individual dhatus or the elements, they themselves are also, based on these multi-events or the multi-things. They themselves, are, say, form, feeling, these are labeled, giving on these multi-activities, multi-functioning, the physical, multi-functioning, organisms, then give it name, saying it is form. There isn't anything such as form other than on these multi-physical, the things and the labeled form. So the second point is to understand each one of these, the things that we have got here as a body, feeling, consciousness, what such and such. Understand them as they are. Okay, so those are the 2 points. Now, because I want to rush a little bit, because we must finish this paragraph today, otherwise tomorrow I have a big heavy burden. So I want to finish that. Okay, it is now our going to rush. It is quite simple. It says, there's no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, and so on up to and including no aging and death, and no extinction of the aging of death. So in here, it mentioned two things, isn't it? One forward order, one reverse order. One forward order, one reverse order. The forward order is this: there's no ignorance, and then the reverse order is there's no extinction of ignorance. Then carries on saying, and so on up to, including no aging and death, and then that's the forward order. Then reverse order is and no extinction of aging and death. That is very important for the follower of Buddha to understand these two orders. Forward order is if we have first ignorance, there will be the second link, karma, action, karma. Out of ignorance, karma, action. When the action is committed, exhausted, finished, the propensity is left on consciousness, number 3. And upon the consciousness, where the propensity or the seeds are left, then all the remaining other links. There are 12 links. 12 links. They will follow. 12 links, 12. I will not go all detail. That's a big headache, but I want to give you into 3 groups, which is very straightforward, 3 groups. Number 1, number 8, number 9, out of 12. Number 1, number 8, number 9. One group. Number 2, number 10. Second group. Now how many left? You have very good evidence. 7. Remaining 7 in one group. Now there are 3 groups. The first group, you can label, you can name them delusion. The first group, there are 3, delusion. Second group, there are 2, karma. Third group, there are 7, are the result. You are a very, very good follower, not knowing any one of them, but you still accept them. Anyway, so there are 12 factors, or sometimes they are called 12 links. Out of 12 links or 12 factors, first, the group are the delusion groups. Although they are in a number, they are scattered in different places, but they all are delusion. Affliction. Number 1, number 8, number 9, they all are delusion. But they are in an order number, they are ordered in a different numbers, different sequence. First one is number 1, the second one is number 8, third one is number 9. But they all are delusion, but have a slightly different job, different sort of function, but they all are delusion.
First is ignorance, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, the second group, number 2 out of number 12 in order, number 2, number 10, both are action, karma. What is the result when these two come together? These 2 groups come together, then remaining 7 are the result. Starting birth, aging, sickness, all the remaining 7 are the result. So that can be go that can go forward order in the sense of delusion starts, karma acts, result, experience. That's the forward order. Or we can look at what you call the reverse order. Delusion cease, karma stop, free from result. That is reverse order. So it is up to you. Which one you want? Forward order or the reverse order? Forward order is where we are now, constantly going through. That's why it's called cyclic existence. Circle. Delusion, action, result, those what we experience. While we're experiencing the result, same we do delusion, action, and that is the endless result. So here, this is very important for us. Looking at the forward order is through the ignorance, then go through, which we will experience. Reverse order means cease or extinct ignorance, karma will stop, then all this, that circle will stop. That's the reverse order. Yeah? Okay, that's here. Then the next line, the Buddha said, what's called Avalokiteshvara said, similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path, and there is no exalted. Yeah. So that's the next one, next group. That is the Four Noble Truths. Isn't Four Noble Truths? Saying there's no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. Here the term is used. Similarly, there are several reasons why the term similarly is used. The 12 links of dependent origination, forward order and reverse order that we have seen, is more elaborate teachings on Four Noble Truths. Four Noble Truths is shorter teachings on the 12 links of dependent origination. Otherwise, these two are same topic, same subject. In the Four Noble Truths, saying there's a dukkha, there's the origin of dukkha. And saying there's also cessation of dukkha, and there's also path which leads to that cessation. That's the Four Noble Truths. If you look at the 12 links of dependent origination, forward order, we are looking at these two. Suffering and the origin of suffering. If you look at 12 links of dependent origination, reverse order, we are looking at the cessation and the path which leads to cessation. As simple as that. Okay? Yeah. Now, we should rush. There's no exalted wisdom, no attainment. So there's no exalted wisdom. Exalted wisdom. What is the exalted wisdom? Now, in Tibetan, this term is wisdom. In Tibetan we have two terms for this. In English you use one, usually use the same term, saying wisdom. Wisdom in Tibetan we have two terms. Two different terms are used. One is called sherab, also quite often translated as a wisdom. And the second one is Geshe. It's also in English translated as a wisdom. So there's a little bit confusion in translation. In Tibetan, Sherab, this first term, can be used in an ordinary day-to-day language. For example, if a child has a very good, he or she is very intelligent, we can say he or she has a very good Sherab. That means intelligence, very clever in studying. But also we use the same term, Sherab, in a more advanced, such as understanding of emptiness. For example, when we talk about 6 perfections, out of 6, last perfection is Sherab. Out of 6 perfections, wisdom perfection, Sherab. So, but in English, use the same, but the other term, Geshe, in Tibetan, we use this more in the spiritual realization, spiritual understanding. We don't use this Geshe in the ordinary intelligence, cleverness. Don't use that term. So I think because of this, in English there's only one term that because of that they use this, exalted wisdom. Exalted wisdom. So now, here, exalted wisdom refers to wisdom or the understanding, realization, which understands things and events as they are, directly. I'll repeat. When you say here, exalted wisdom refers to the wisdom or the understanding that understands things and events as they are, directly. Okay? So, that's here, exalted wisdom. Then attainment. Attainment can be looked at into 3 from the Mahayana Buddhist point of view. Attainment for the Buddhist practitioner, from the Mahayana Buddhist point of view, attainment can be looked into 3. Attaining, the Shavaka's arhatship, attaining, the Patyaka Buddha's arhatship, and attaining enlightenment. From the Mahayana Buddhist point of view, when you say attainment, what the result when you pursue the spiritual path can be looked at in the 3. In Sanskrit it's called Sharvaskar. Sharvaska's arhatship means, the hearers, or sometimes called listeners, the different term, different translations. Listeners' liberation. Patyaka Buddha's arhatship means, in English it is translated solitude realizes liberation, and enlightenment means bodhisattvayana. Bodhisattvayana's enlightenment or the liberation. So attainment can be looked at in these 3. But from the Theravadan Buddhist point of view, 2. Sharvaska and Patyaka Buddha's, the arhatship or the liberation. They don't talk about Mahayana's enlightenment. For them, enlightenment and liberation are the same, no difference. For the Mahayana Buddhists, there's a difference. liberation can be as simple as you are free from under the power of delusion and the karma. In other words, you are free from this circle of the 12 links of dependent origination. You are not anymore in the fourth order of 12 links of dependent origination. Liberation is as simple as that. But enlightenment is more complicated for the Mahayana Buddhist point of view. If you are liberated from this circle, it's not necessarily you are enlightened being. That we'll talk tomorrow. Because next paragraph is really very much related to the Mahayanas, the point of view. So we'll talk tomorrow. Okay, I think we must stop. Otherwise, nobody can walk out from this door. Okay, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for listening. And we'll end the day to say short dedication. Sorry?
Long life or just dedication?
Dedication, as well as long life, we can do. Yeah, we can do His Holiness long life prayer, Lama Surah's long life prayer, Chandra Senjo, those 3 verses.
Yeah, just like for this.
36?
Ja. Und dann? Achso, das auch. Eines.
Okay, usually.
You do German when I leave?
Yeah, that's fine. I will follow German.
But we could get trained to the Tibetan.
Sorry? It's alright, you can do it in German. It's better to have feelings than chanting.
So Changchuk and Konri.
Yeah, Konri and
both.
Lama Surah's long life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Möge, wer den kostbaren höchsten Erleuchtungsgeist noch nicht entwickelt hat, ihn entwickeln. Und wer ihn entwickelt hat, ihn nie verringern, sondern immer weiter entfalten. Möge die Quelle von allem Nutzen und Glück, indem die von Schneebergen umgebenen einen Land, aber die Geshe-la, Tenzin Gyatso, bis zum Ende des ganzen Zeitlaufs verweilen. Mögest du den Verhaltensweisen des Erhabenen aufrechterhält und die siegreiche Lehre des sanften Beschützers bewahrt, hütet, ausbreitet, alles, was sich hingibt, sich zu festigen und die Segenskraft der Ehrung der 3 höchsten Leben erfüllt, zu unserem deiner Schülern ständig verweilen.
Oh, yeah.